Yes, good afternoon. Do you hear me? Okay, so I will. Nice to talk to you, and congratulations again for this fantastic event. My apologies for not being present in Ponte do Sor. I know how important it is for Portugal, for Ponte do Sor, and for the aviation. But this time it was not possible. But at least I wanted to be connected and to make this speech online. My suggestion is to start the presentation. I have a presentation. I hope you can see that. Please confirm. Hello? I don't hear you. Okay. So my presentation is about innovation, and I will talk also about hydrogen and zero emissions, which is the topic of the day. So to start with, Airbus is a big company, it's a major company. We are present all around the world, but we have our European heritage, our European origin and roots. So in terms of innovation, we like to call ourselves as a leading innovation company, and that we pioneer sustainable aerospace. Why we say that? Well, there are many reasons to say that, but just as a quick introduction about our contribution to United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, we try to keep stuck as much as possible to the goals. I think we are not so bad on that. But just as an example, you have the goal 13 about the climate action. This is a very important target. We take that seriously. And this is the main topic of today. So I will develop that a little bit in the coming slides. More concretely, what is the Airbus ambitions? Well, we want to be, in the year 2035, we want to be the first major manufacturer to offer climate neutral commercial aircraft. We want to be in 2015, we want to contribute to the European Union Green Deal, net zero emissions, and later on, we want to pursue also the attack roadmap. If we go to about the first target, the first to come, the 2035, as you can imagine, this is a major goal, not only for the aerospace, but also internally, to be the first major manufacturer to be climate neutral producer of commercial aircraft. This is triggering many activities in the company, not only internally, but also with the stakeholders, with administration, with other companies, with the supply chain, with the clients, etc. And this is today what we are trying to do. And for that, we account with a big ecosystem of companies. And for that, it is what talking now about Portugal. We have some partnerships with companies, and we are pushing all to develop this Portuguese ecosystem to help us accomplish this target. To go a little bit more concrete about aviation reduction roadmap, well, this graph is very simple, but to me is very interesting. We can understand many things about the emission, the CO2 reduction, and the climate change only looking at this slide. As you can see there, after the COVID crisis, that is really impacting us. But if we don't consider the COVID crisis, the upper line you have here is the frozen 2019 efficiency. It means that if we follow the trend, and this trend is basically linked to the scenario 3% of growing every year. So we can see here that the emissions, the CO2 emissions are significantly growing in the world in the coming decades. So if we look at the different drivers for improvement, first of all, we have latest generation aircraft. It has an impact for sure in the upper side. Then we have disruptive technologies, and the impact is even higher. It is easy to understand, and you see that today, even though we have new aircraft, much more efficient aircraft, but if you look at the shape of the aircraft flying today and you look at the shape of the aircraft that used to fly 30, 40 years ago, they are not big differences. You have some differences, but not big differences. It means that the current set of technologies used until now, even though they are improving many things, are not enough to achieve all these targets. So because of that, we need disruptive technologies. And these disruptive technologies is what we call here in the dark blue area. With all this set of disruptive technologies, and you can see that they are starting in the coming years, we were expecting to really achieve a major part of this target in CO2 reduction. Then we have the yellow part, which is operations and infrastructures. As you see, it has an impact, but the impact compared to the other factors is not so high. So this is not very much the Airbus business, operations and infrastructures. It's more about the operators and the airlines. But you can see that the main responsibility is now remaining there. It's more about the aircraft itself. And then we have the sustainable aviation fuels, which has also an important part of the CO2 reduction. And it's very easy to understand. The fuel is important. For that, there are a lot of fuel producers, manufacturers involved. Here we are a partner. We are a partner with our aircraft. We are testing, we are trying, we are supporting, we are helping, and we are also developing the engine overlaps that the engine and the aircraft are working together. So here you have more or less the efficiency roadmap and the efficiency mapping for the coming years. If we go about the what we call the decarbonization rows, in the center we have the reduction. How to achieve that? Well, on the top we have the technology and design. This is the driver that from Airbus we can do more. This is more a link to our core. It's new technologies we can develop, put in place in our airplanes to make it greener. Then we have a sustainable aviation fuel. I mentioned about that. We are a partner there. Then we have hydrogen. Hydrogen, it is in light blue. Hydrogen is something that, of course, it's to be developed by fuel manufacturers, producers, but also it is a full set of technologies, new technologies to be implemented on the aircraft in order to make it fly and to make it fly safely, which is the name of the game, safely. And you can imagine that for such a revolutionary technology, safety is a major topic. So that's why this is in light blue, because we are really partnering and very much taking care of that to be successful. Then we have operations, traffic management, and also airport infrastructures. This is in green because this is not the core of Airbus, but of course we are very much interested. And then last but not least, the economic measures. These are more political measures or governmental measures that we have to follow, we have to respect. We are stuck to that. And of course, as far as these economic measures are taken, we can adapt faster or slower. How can represent today the status as is today and the future? We have in these slides 4 aircraft today under the Airbus family: the 220, 320 Neo, 330 Neo, and 350 extra wing. Well, here these are today the best sellers in the company in commercial aviation. But you can see here that today only 12% of in-service fleet are latest generation aircraft. And you can see also that the 20% lower fuel and CO2 versus previous generations across the entire family of Airbus. It means that with this aircraft, we achieved some of the targets we mentioned in the aircraft before, but this is not enough. Today, this is not enough. So due to that, we need to move forward. And to move forward means to move from the current set of aircraft, the current set of technologies, to new technologies. And you can see here the timeline. We are talking about 2035 plus. And you can see there a new set of disruptive, new shapes, new technologies. It is what we call Zero-E. Zero-E is a new aircraft family concept. And the intention is to install on all these aircraft the new technologies to at least maintain the carbon neutral business in aviation. Of course, this is not only going to airframe and propulsion and alternative energies. It's also talking about, it's a new generation of sets, but also a new culture in the company, about the concept of design, cabin, commonalities, partnership, etc. In order to achieve this target, we are doing some flight tests, some demonstrators, some technology demonstrators to try many types and kind of technologies we need to make it possible. Here you have just what we call the flight lab. The flight lab is it's a non-tripulated unmanned aircraft that we are using to test many of these technologies: new wings, airframe technology, propulsion systems, etc. If we go more into the detail about the investigation and research line we are taking today, this slide summarizes the name of the game for the carbon zero emissions in the future. This is related to hydrogen for aviation. At the top side of the slide, you have power to liquid synthetic fuel, what we call electrofuel. This is a fuel that can be added to fossil fuels like today, and it can be used in conventional jet engines. Conventional jet engines are the engines they are using today. So this is a way to reduce the emissions in the coming years, for sure. But if we go to the down part of the graph, of the slide, we have two lines of investigation. That is what we call zero E. And zero E for us is two things. Is one, hydrogen combustion, so similar to conventional internal combustion we use today, but burning hydrogen in modified gas turbine. So instead of burning the current fuel, burning hydrogen. This is one thing. Another line of investigation is what we call hydrogen fuel cells. And this is converting the energy stored in H2, in hydrogen, into electrical energy to power electrical motors. They are fuel cells. These are the two lines we are investigating today. And these are the two lines that I mentioned before we plan to be incorporating at the commercial aviation in 2035. So a little bit more about zero emissions. What is this about? Well, here you have the roadmap. The project started in 2018. The program pre-program launch was started in 2020 when it was a big announcement on that. And the goal is 2035, entry into service. Of course, this is a target. It's very complicated. It's very difficult to commit today about a complete disruptive new set of technologies that will come in the future. But the target today is 2035. And in the meantime, we need to run the whole process of technologies, of innovation, and the product manufacturing. So this is the target today. What is our engagement on sustainable aviation fuel, what we call SAF, sustainable aviation fuel? So we have, in the last years, and this is to reflect that we're not starting from zero, today is 2021, but we have a long journey behind us. We started to investigate around 15 years ago with a different type of fuel and energy in partnership with our more well-known and trusted partners. We started with Lufthansa, with Iberia, with Air Canada, KLM, and some others. And we started the initial test on aircraft. If you look at this graph, in 2021, we have the 100% SAF flight test campaigns. And later on, in the year 2530, we have an aircraft, an Airbus aircraft that will be 100% SAF capable. This is a major milestone. It can be a little bit before, a little bit after, but this is the target today, to have around that year, the first aircraft capable to work with this fuel. And in some other years, 2035, more or less, to have this industrialized and available for the business and ecosystem of the aviation. As a matter of example, here you have two demonstrators. One on the A350-900 that took this test. Was happening in March 2021, already done. Here you have one that is coming now, November 21, we call Vulcan in A320neo. And these are some examples or a different test we are doing to make it possible. As you can imagine, and this is important in this graph, in the downside, you see some of the partners, some of them extremely important, that we are partnering together to make it possible. Pros, Japan, Dassault, Onega, some are manufacturers, some other are research institutions, some others are other general aviation authorities. The idea is that we put all the key stakeholders together and make it possible. If we move now, just some words about what I mentioned before about operation and air traffic management. This is not the platform itself, but this is also part of the ecosystem. And you can see here that there are a lot of activities that are done in different fields to contribute to this target. Upgrade of services, and we contribute that. NavBlue is an application, it's a company belonging to Airbus. When we help the airlines to monitor solutions, to optimize solutions. Of course, the traffic management, we are part of César, and next generation research and development. Core services, of course, CORSIA, fuel efficiency prediction seminar, webinars, we're doing that. And of course, airports and ground operation that we are today collaborating with the authorities to make it possible and to facilitate this change. This was more or less my presentation for the zero reductions. I just want to spend, if possible, just half a minute to talk about we are in Portugal. So what is Airbus in Portugal? And just to open the floor to the companies and to incentivize the companies to come to Airbus to talk to us and to join our ecosystem for research and technology. We, as a global leader, we are interested in selling activities for sure, but we have a strong focus on innovation, and we want to develop that also in Portugal, not only selling, but also developing things. And for that, we need your support. So in Portugal, Airbus has a significant footprint. It's not new. The Air Force with commercial airlines, TAP, Highfly, etc. We have around 10 major Portuguese companies in our global supply chain. You can hear some examples of them. We have position in Lisbon, we have position in Braga, Porto area, and of course we have a significant presence in helicopters, mainly in the commercial world. Airbus as a partner, yes, around half of the Portuguese aerospace and defense suppliers are in the value chain of Airbus. Today, more than 1,000 Portuguese jobs are in one way or another are depending on Airbus work, and this is before what I'm going to tell after that. This is before the new investments, and we have for long. I started that activities, I remember, with our friends of AED in the past to develop Clean Sky 2, Passaro, Horizon 2020 initiatives. And we managed from Airbus and the Portuguese AED cluster to have a strong partnership. And this is now continuing with Clean Sky 3. And of course, here you see, we don't have much time, but you can see here a full set of activities on areas where we are trying to develop things with Portugal. And you can read that later in the presentation. Last but not least, and this is my last slide, lately we have two major investments in the country. One is Estilia Santo Tirso. This is a new assembly plant from Estilia, which is 100% subsidiary of Airbus. I can say that this is the biggest investment in the aerospace industry in Portugal since 2008. It's a major investment. And this entity will become its integral and paramount part of the Estilia system to produce some components to our aircraft. And then last but not least, we have the Global Business Center in Lisbon. This is totally new, opened in July 21. And this is to have a consolidation of a shared services center for all the geographies and for all the divisions in Portugal. We are talking only about the first phase. We have to be to make sure that this is working. We have to take care of many factors. So we are talking about a first phase, which is more or less up to 100 something employees. But this is an important and significant step forward of Airbus in Portugal. And with that, I finish my presentation. So happy to answer any questions now or in written form later on as you want. That's all from my side.